Hi everyone, this is Kyle with kayDbait. I'm going to be doing a video on tolerance. I know I've done one before, but this one's going to be more precise, more concise, more streamlined, and hopefully faster and more easy to relate to. Tolerance is, at its lowest form, the allowance of something's existence, meaning you won't actively, if you had the power, destroy something. So I will allow this table to exist, maybe because it's helpful, or maybe just because it's not so important that I would take the effort to destroy it. Same goes for people. I'm not just going to say, hey, if I had omnipotence, you wouldn't exist because I don't like you. That's technically tolerance. So that's the lowest form. But the lowest form is more a form of contentment. You don't have the motivation to destroy them. So that's a really powerful tool that people use to manipulate righteousness, where they will say, I tolerate you, and I accept you for whatever reason, but, and then they do whatever they do, and it's not real tolerance, because they're not tolerating you, they're tolerating your existence temporarily so that they can try to fix you for whatever reason, either your religious persuasion, sexual orientation, your culture. I mean, in the past, what were the Crusaders? They were, convert or die. That was, if you converted, they would say, cool. And they tolerated your presence while you made that choice. They didn't give you very much time, but they did. So it's like, heathen, repent or die. I will tolerate you. Make a decision now. That is tolerance at its lowest level. And that really is not right. The standard of tolerance today is higher than it was before, but people don't have it all the time. There are a lot of people that only show tolerance. They are not actually tolerant. They will project an air of tolerance to show themselves as morally righteous, but in actuality, they are just doing that to persuade you to listen to them so that they can change you in the future. And hopefully, in their eyes, make you worth more than just tolerating. And that is accepting of them because they now agree with you because you agree with them. And they become one. So, that's not real tolerance. That is a bastardization of tolerance. That is the abuse and manipulation of the premise of tolerance. Real tolerance is to look at another culture that is equal yet different and say, that's okay. Now, there's no guideline for this. You can't just say one thing is good and one thing is bad. Nobody knows. But there are things that are obviously wrong that should be worked on, and then there's things that are obviously right that should be praised, but there's not a lot of hard edges. There's not a lot of this is right and this is wrong. They exist. There's just not a lot of them. Most of it's gray area. And most of it is culturally defined. So their culture defines it as okay, and ours does not. Or theirs defines it as not, and ours says it's okay. So there's a lot of clash between, the Middle East and North America. North America is considered a cesspool of deviance and sin, where in their eyes, and then in our eyes, they're just this most backwater, monstrous place ever where they all want to kill us and they're all terrorists. And it's very difficult to look at it from either culture and tolerate the other, because in their eyes, we are damaging a lot of things, and in our eyes, they're damaging a lot of things, and they're dangerous. So we have to, in our eyes, they're dangerous. So we have to figure out how far you can tolerate while still remaining reasonable. Because if somebody has a gun and they're going to kill your son, you're not going to tolerate them. You're not going to say, that's okay, pat them on the back and say, you're just having a bad day. because that's psycho. I mean, it might work, but it's not the most reasonable reaction in the world, and it's definitely not the first reaction in the world you should have. And it's a difficult process to make. It's a lot of different factors being put into every single second of interaction between you and whatever you are trying to tolerate or not tolerating anyway. And then you have the entire world doing this with everything all the time, constantly. So tolerance is really about being able to reasonably react without just judging. And not just wanting to make everything go your way. Humans are naturally narcissistic, and they naturally want things to go their way because it makes you happy. Even if your way isn't bad, your way could be world peace. But how do you get that? Do you want the Middle East to not exist? Do you want everyone to become America? Do you want everyone to become China? Do you want everyone to become Christian? Do you want everyone to become an anarchist? There's a lot of different ways that would technically make the world peaceful. Whether it be reasonable or completely insane, there are people that will believe you and agree with that, and then there's people that will just say you're nuts. So there's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing what you should tolerate. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you should tolerate this or you should tolerate that. I'm saying that this is how you tolerate. You tolerate by not being aggressive in judgment. It's not about wanting to change something that disagrees with you. It's not about wanting to destroy something that seems threatening but may not be. It's my ex-wife. She always wanted to make me better. She wanted me to stop being political. She wanted me to stop protecting equal rights for things she disagreed with. And I had to argue that I will not change that because it is an integrated part of me. It is something that makes me me, and it gives my life meaning to fight for these things for others. And she would tell me, "You are wrong, Kyle. You have to change. But I still love you." And those words together, it's like spraying a puppy with water and saying I love you. Is I hate what you do, and I hate who you are, but I still love this other part of you, and I want all of you to be this other part of you. So it was pretty much, she hates my political desires. She hates my desire to help people and wants me to only be her husband. And there's nothing wrong with wanting your husband to be your husband. But what she wanted me to do was sacrifice all of my life goals to make her more comfortable. And that's not fair. That's not tolerance in me. My actions did not affect her on an outward scale. She let it affect her. She always felt that my political career was more important than how I treated her, which is not true. I did have political aspirations, and she hated politics. She would actively yell at me for trying to make videos. She would put me down for protecting minorities. Not all minorities, but certain ones that she did not like. And it was very difficult to fight that because I wanted to make her happy. I wanted to, in some ways, conform to normality because a lot of people don't have the aspirations I have. But I couldn't do that because it was sacrificing my integrity. And that made her very upset, and that was one of the things that pushed us to breaking up. And it wasn't the only thing, but it was definitely one of the major ones. And that's not tolerance. She didn't tolerate my political aspirations. She said she did. But what she really did was say things like, I won't leave you for these reasons if you work at stopping them. And that is not tolerance. That is just waiting for them to get fixed. And that's saying, I will tolerate the now bad person as long as you turn into a good person. But your definition of good is not necessarily good. And especially not if you're forcing them into it with manipulation, which a lot of people do. So I'm going to put a few comments in a few things in the comment section to explain what I'm saying, because obviously this is an extremely difficult concept to grasp for a lot of people, even myself. And it's not black and white. It is extremely shade of gray. Not the book. I don't like the book. But I hope that this has helped you at least understand a little bit of what tolerance is, and to understand that there is no one definition of it, and there's not one level. There's several levels. And the highest one is love thy neighbor and love thy enemy. And those are messed up. So that's somebody killed your son and you forgive them and you just accept it and move on. That is not something you can ever ask of somebody. You can't ever say, you should do this. But the lowest level, the I will let you exist, yes. I will let you exist. I will say that to anybody. And if they're trying to kill me, I'll defend myself. But I won't try to kill them. I will try to defend myself. So I'm rambling, so I'm going to end this. I guess that's all. What do you guys think? What are your 2 cents? Take care. Peace.